Got you. I just get so lazy, man. I just don't want to get a haircut for some reason. Speaking of bad hair, LeBron James, the LA Lakers, see what we did there? They got rejected by Dan Hurley on the new coaching search. Of course, we're going to talk about Game 2 of the NBA Finals last night, as well as maybe a little bit of a look back on the Jrue Holiday-Damian Lillard trade swap. But I feel like we have to begin with the news of the day. I understand that there was literally a finals game last night, but this was the news that I was most anticipating today, and that is whether or not Dan Hurley was going to leave college, leave UConn, and come and be the head coach of the LA Lakers. Ultimately, he turns down what is reportedly a 6-year, $70 million deal, and this is a great way to know how crazy the situation got. I saw that number, that contract, and I was like, seems a little low. That's how crazy this whole situation has gotten with the amount of money it seemed like they were going to throw at him for a franchise that historically does not really go out there and pay big-time coaches a ton of money, at least over the last handful of seasons. And Hurley is going to stay at UConn. And presumably the Lakers are going to move on to a variety of other candidates. JJ Redick continues to get mentioned. And ultimately it seemed like it was a real situation. He really considered it and just didn't want to go to the NBA level, at least not yet. Really enjoys his situation at UConn. And it's just another weird situation that the Lakers are going to have to handle because they still have to deal with whether LeBron is going to return to the team. They have to deal with whether they're going to add Bronny. Now they're still looking for a coach. If they had a guy initially, like maybe JJ Redick, that now isn't going to be there. And for Hurley, ultimately, he's going to get a big raise. He's going to stay in college, go for a potential three-peat, which hasn't happened in a very, 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 very long time. So I respect it. Go out and try and get your raise. It seemed like it was a real thing. And he just didn't want to make the jump to the NBA quite yet. Let's also talk about Game 2 of the finals last night. Dallas goes down 0-2 in the series despite a really good Luka game, 30-point triple-double. Kyrie continues to struggle. Like I said after Game 1, I was like, well, Kyrie's going to play better. They're going to get better contributions from him. He's been good when they really needed him to score throughout the postseason. There are series where they didn't really need him to score that much. He's just been bad, and I'm starting to think that it is just a personnel issue. Boston just has so many long wings, guys with length, guys that can really defend to continue to throw at Kyrie, and it is causing him a lot of issues. He's just not able to get to his spots, and where I'm at right now with this finals is the finals aren't quite over. I tried everything last night. I tried to tweet like a reverse jinx congratulating the Celtics on their title before the game was actually over. I really, really don't want the meaningful basketball to be over. I don't want this to be a series that is just lopsided, and it just kind of feels like one of those right now. Luka comes into the game kind of beat up, still plays really well, doesn't guard well at all, and it's a personnel issue right now, I feel like, for Dallas, and that's the worst spot you can be in the NBA Finals. It's not necessarily adjustments that need to be made. It's not necessarily, hey, we can do this, we can do that, we can change some things up. It's literally better shot making from guys like Kyrie and the other players around Luka, and it's just Boston's better. Boston's the better team. They have more size. They have more length. They have more options. They didn't even shoot well from three last night. And Dallas got a great Luka game, and it still wasn't enough. Now, just like in Game 1, they were able to make it close later on, and it looked like they had a decent chance. But for the large portion of both of these games, Dallas just has looked not good enough. They're actually favored currently going into Game 3, which is a little bit surprising given how the teams have looked from a matchup perspective. But Boston just has more options. I picked Dallas in the series because I thought Kristaps Porzingis wasn't going to be all that impactful. I thought it was going to be really difficult for him to just come back after over 30 days of not playing and just show up in the NBA Finals and be really good. He's been really good, and despite some shooting struggles at times for Boston, for some of their main guys from three, Tatum continues to shoot poorly. They've just had enough. And one of the storylines obviously coming into Game 2 was Jason Kidd saying that Jaylen Brown was Boston's best player, and everybody coming out and saying, oh, he's trying to drive a wedge between Tatum and Brown. It's just mind games. He might not be wrong. Jaylen Brown has been better through, I think it's 8 finals games between 2022 and 2024 for Boston. He's been better than Jason Tatum for basically the entirety of all of those games. Now, yes, Tatum is getting doubled. Yes, Tatum is racking up assists, but he still is getting his shots up. He's not scoring well. Jaylen's been better defensively. He has been incredible for them, and he was arguably their best player in the 22 finals as well. But the other guy that was really good for Boston last night was Jrue Holiday, and it just feels like an opportunity to go back and look a little bit at the Damian Lillard Jrue Holiday swap, because we've talked about this a few times, but now in the context of Jrue Holiday potentially winning Finals MVP, I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but that would be kind of like a Andre Iguodala type Finals MVP situation where they're just that good of a quote-unquote role player from start to finish that they actually win the award. And when you look back at the deals themselves, between not only Holiday ending up in Boston, but Dame ending up with Milwaukee, and obviously them swapping out Drew for Dame. In this new context now in Boston, it looks really, really tough for Milwaukee. Essentially, they traded away Drew, Grayson Allen, who was also really good in Phoenix, a first-round pick, and 2 pick swaps to get Dame in the building. And there are people arguing right now that Drew just would have been better straight up as a player still in that Milwaukee team compared to what Dame brought to Milwaukee this year. And of course, Boston, we've already talked about what they were able to do in terms of getting Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis in the same offseason. They traded Brogdon, they traded Robert Williams, a 2024 first that is Golden State's, and a 2029 first of their own to get Drew Holiday, who might go on to win Finals MVP. But here's my thing with the Drew Holiday, Damian Lillard discourse. The trade does not look fantastic in any stretch of the imagination for Milwaukee right now, but there is a reason that Drew Holiday was traded from Milwaukee, and it's not just because they wanted to get Dame, it's because they felt like they needed more of an offensive punch. Drew wasn't that good offensively in the postseason the last couple of years, and one of the reasons that he looks so good right now in Boston is because their offensive infrastructure is so much better than what they had in Milwaukee. Drew can be the 4th best offensive player on the floor at times for Boston, and he's able to get so many open looks. He's able to obviously get better looks from 3, shooting really well from 3 this year, uses his size, getting in the lane. People were just kind of forgetting about Drew Holiday out there offensively, and he's able to take advantage of that. That was never the case in Milwaukee. Yes, you have Giannis. Yes, you have Chris Middleton. Yes, you have Brook Lopez. But like Drew Holiday at times was the primary like pick and roll ball handler between him and Chris Middleton. He just was never in the role that he is right now in Boston, and he's got a new contract now. And it's just going to be one of those things where he's going to look awesome with the Celtics for the entirety of the rest of the time that he is a really good NBA player. And it's not necessarily fair to compare his situation and how he looks now in Boston to how he looked in Milwaukee and how he probably would have looked in Milwaukee this year with the Bucks, especially considering Giannis got hurt. Like, could you imagine what the Bucks offense would have looked like with just Drew Holiday out there and then a hobbled Chris Middleton? Like, you can say what you want about Dame, got hurt in the postseason, but offensively, he's better than Drew. And there's obviously the trade-off there defensively, but it's interesting how we're going back and we're looking at those 2 deals, and of course it worked out awesome for Boston. You could easily make the case that Milwaukee shouldn't have traded away Drew, but then they'd be in a situation now where they'd have to pay Drew Holiday to keep him. And again, it's just not a fair one-to-one comparison between where he is in Boston and where he was in Milwaukee. And moving forward now in the series, right now it feels like Dallas just has to shoot significantly better from the field from 3 than Boston to win the series. Like, from a schematic standpoint, matchup standpoint, they're just not as good. They continue to get exposed defensively against, Boston's bigger players. They're going right at Kyrie. They're going right at Luka, especially. They're trying to get these switches for Porzingis to take advantage of against smaller guys. And Dallas just doesn't have the personnel defensively to match up with Boston. They're giving up open looks despite the fact that Boston hasn't been able to hit them. And if they're going to get back in this series, potentially tie it up 2-2, they're just going to have to make a ton of threes, and they're going to have to hope that Boston doesn't shoot well from 3. I understand that sounds reductive, but that's where we're at right now. And if Boston is going to not win the title this year, it's going to be because they're just straight up missing shots, which is something that I talked about months ago at this point. There's a video on the channel where I basically said Boston's going to win the title if KP's healthy and they make shots, and that has kind of been the case so far through the first 2 games of the finals. Those of you that got to this point in the video, by the way, congratulations, I appreciate it. I've got kind of a crazy concept coming up for a video where I'm going to rank every single NBA free agent, not just like the main guys. There's 100 free agents that I'm going to rank in this video coming up. And I put this part in the video just to say it's gonna be a fun one. So make sure you guys check that out. You're a basketball sicko if you actually choose to click on that video. 100 NBA free. I'm talking about like Thanasis Antetokounmpo is ranked in this free agency video. So be on the lookout for that one. Just want to do a little bit of a news roundup today. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.